Welcome to the From Blueprint to Roadmap, the National Autism Strategy webinar, the first in a series of webinars related to a National Autism Strategy. Throughout April, CASDA will be hosting a series of webinars in honor of World Autism Month titled WAMWebinars. Thank you for registering, and we hope you enjoy today's webinar.
My name is Rebecca Kinsinger, and I am an autistic individual on the board of directors with CASDA. CASDA's vision is for all autistic Canadians and their families to have full and equitable access to the resources they need across the lifespan, where and when they need it. At CASDA, we are committed to ensuring the creation and implementation of a comprehensive national autism strategy that addresses the critical gaps in funding and policies which are preventing individuals who are autistic and their families from exercising their individual and equal rights as Canadians.
Hi, I'm Mark Whalen. I'm a board member at CASDA, and CASDA is a national organization working with leaders in the field of autism, parents, researchers, individuals with autism, people from big agencies, small agencies, to develop a national autism strategy that will make a difference in the lives of Canadians with autism. You'll see logos of our members from across the country, big and small. You'll also see a slide that have the logos of some of our key partners who, while they're not in the autism field, recognize that their work has an impact on the lives of Canadians with autism. Together, we're stronger. Together, we're louder. Together, we can make a big difference. Join CASDA. Be part of this movement that is going to create a better Canada for Canadians with autism.
I'm Leslie Peters, a board member with CASDA. On CASDA's website, the strategic plan is found in the About Us tab. CASDA represents the voice of autistic individuals, those who work with them, and those who love them. We engage federal policymakers on issues that impact individuals with autism across Canada. In the Our Work tab, you will find important resources. From 2007 onward, CASDA has worked toward a national autism strategy. Steps along the way include the Canadian Autism Partnership Project and the Blueprint for a National Autism Strategy.
Hi, I'm Debbie Irish, the chair of CASDA's board of directors. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you to this year's 7th annual Canadian Autism Leadership Summit taking place in Ottawa on October 5th and 6th. This is a great opportunity to engage with government while a national autism strategy is being developed. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for making this a truly remarkable event. Please register now at www.casda.ca.
This is the first of several CASDA webinars. We would be grateful if you would take a few moments to complete the evaluation in the link below so that we can make improvements for our next webinar. Thanks, and have a great day.
Hi, thanks for being here with us today as we kick off CASDA's webinar series. My name is Jill Farber, and I am the co-vice chair of CASDA, the Canadian Autism Spectrum Disorder Alliance. Today we will hear from Dr. Jonathan Lai, CASDA's Director of Strategy and Operations. Jonathan will walk through with us the roadmap to a national autism strategy. The roadmap was developed by CASDA to support the federal government in their implementation of a national autism strategy. I look forward to your presentation, Jonathan. Take it away.
Thanks, Jill. I want to welcome everybody to today's webinar. Today's webinar is titled From Blueprint to Roadmap, a proposal for Canada's National Autism Strategy. This is the first of our series that we're launching this month. This presentation will give you an overview about how CASDA sees a national autism strategy build out from the blueprint document we developed last year to a roadmap moving forward. CASDA had created a document called the Blueprint last year. This document was produced as a policy brief to show the government that there were actionable policy levers to enact a national autism strategy. It was well received by many stakeholders and used to advocate for a national autism strategy before the election last fall. Here you can see the summary figure of the blueprint. You can find the full document on our website. But there are 2 points I want to highlight right now. The first is that the blueprint was just a beginning to serve as a catalyst for action. It was not a national autism strategy itself. Secondly, In the blueprint, we had a list of 22 specific actions that the government could take to support people with autism across the lifespan in 5 areas that the federal government has jurisdiction over: affordability and access, information, employment, housing, and research. This year, we created a roadmap for a national autism strategy that built off the blueprint. The first thing I will actually want you to notice is the date. This was produced in the days leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic. So keep in mind that the specific timelines may have to be adjusted given the unprecedented times that we are facing as a country. In the next couple of slides, I want to walk through the main figure of the roadmap document. It lays out how CASDA envisions a national autism strategy to be put together. Here at the top, you see a timeline starting from spring 2020 all the way to 2026 and beyond. On the left side, there are 3 categories of actions listed: collaboration, government processes that are internal, and public-facing action. We have laid out the roadmap based on these 3 categories, and I'm going to go through them one at a time. First, under collaboration, we see that there is a need for the development and application of objectives, indicators to measure success, and learning cycles for continuous improvement. This first point grounds the actions that take place throughout the strategy. Further, there must be a sustainable and acceptable strategy that has impact on the ground. There must be engagement with the autism community and with CASDA. The first point under process begins in the spring-summer of 2020. We would like to see senior government officials striking up a working group that would comprise of people from various ministries to ensure that we're dealing with intersectional issues and not just siloed approaches. Further, this group will make sure that there's an autism lens placed on various policies and programs at the federal level. And lastly, they would spearhead development of a separate Indigenous approach that has been called for by key stakeholders. Also under process, in spring and summer of 2020, we would like to see specific consultations on topics and areas in which we need more data. The autism community has already collected a large amount of data about the needs and the prioritization of these needs. However, there are still a few data gaps. For instance, understanding remote and rural areas better, understanding Indigenous specific concerns, etc. Lastly, during this time, under public-facing action, we would like to see the government coordinate the first federal, provincial, territorial meeting. Many of the supports and services for autism are housed at the provincial and territorial levels, but this would require federal coordination to ensure standards and equity across the country of how services and supports are being funded and delivered. Following this first period, in the summer and fall of 2020, we would like to see the government put together an autism advisory panel. This panel will be important to represent stakeholders in the community. Most importantly, we at CASDA believe there needs to be the inclusion of representatives, self-advocates, to ensure the principles of self-determination, to use the United Nations language, is upheld. In addition to caregivers and professionals in the field, there must be a transparent process to form this panel. In addition, the positions must represent as much of the entire community as possible. In the same time period, we would encourage the government to commit to some early wins. By this, we are referring to 2 specific areas in which we have identified government action that can take place quite easily. We have created and submitted policy briefs, one on the disability tax credit, DTC here, and the other on housing. We've identified actions that can take place immediately in both of these areas, leveraging the investments and movements that have already happened. As we move into fall of 2020, the public-facing action we would like to see in our roadmap would be the release of a What We Heard consultation report to synthesize the findings of the consultations that had occurred earlier in the year. In a similar vein, following the striking up of the Autism Advisory Panel, we would want to see continual building on the blueprints, the consultations, and also other sources to develop longer-term transformative actions that are not listed in the blueprint. Remember, the blueprint was just the beginning. It was never meant to be a comprehensive strategy. As we move to spring 2021, when the budget is released, we would like to see the launch and the announcement of the National Autism Strategy with clear objectives and measured, informed by the previous activities. The early wins and the actions already taken place can be reported on, and future goals can be spelt out at this time. After this, in the following years, if we go back up to process, we would envision annual public-facing progress reports based on the plans set out in the announced strategy from spring 2021. Now, going back to spring 2021, we would like to see some of the early blueprint actions taking place. I'll elaborate on what these early actions are in a few slides. And related to that, moving forward from 2021 onward, we would like to see medium-term blueprint actions, and then from 2023 to 2026, some of the longer-term blueprint actions. We have sequenced the 22 blueprint recommendations under short, medium, and long-term based on the complexity of enacting specific policies. As the long-term blueprint actions are implemented, these would go alongside transformative actions that the panel and the consultations and the rest of the data and the working groups have put together. These would be initiatives beyond what is measured in the blueprints. Now, this last column on the right here, that's empty except for the arrows, signifies that the strategy does not disappear after 2026, after one cycle, but that the infrastructure that was built and the continual learning that we have obtained should be sustained to serve people with autism and other disabilities. So I just gave you a lot of information, but let me sum up a few key points. First, in the spring and summer of this year, to have specific consultations to collect evidence where we have data gaps. Second, to strike up an interministerial working group within government that works collaboratively with an advisory panel, and perhaps having representatives from both groups in both groups so that the work is coordinated, is stakeholder informed, and effective. And third, in 2021, to launch a national autism strategy with clear objectives and measures. And finally, to have all this done in collaboration with the community in a transparent way. Lastly, I want to take a bit of time to explain the early, middle, and long-term blueprint actions. Again, the full document is on our website, but I would take some time to do this. So in the document on the website, you'll find a table of a proposed sequence of blueprint actions. Here it is. And on the top, you'll see on the top row, you'll see that there are first term, medium term, and long-term actions. On the left side, you'll see 6 categories, 3 on this page and 3 on the following page. And these represent the various areas identified in the blueprints. The various bullets in the table are the 22 specific recommendations that were set out in the blueprints. These are spaced out over the short, medium, and long term based on the complexity of how we see these actions being implemented. So on the first page here, we have the categories of strategy and leadership, affordability and access, and then information. And on this next slide, the second half of this table, you see employment, housing, and research. And again, the different bullets looking at the different policy actions. The full details can be found on the website. So there you have it, an overview of the roadmap we have created to a National Autism Strategy and are publicly launching this today. Thanks for your time and attention. For more information, please contact us or visit our website for the roadmap, the blueprint, and other CASDA products and resources that we have. Thanks again. We look forward to speaking with you in upcoming webinars.
Hi, everyone. We hope you enjoy the webinar. Please fill out the evaluation form in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss future webinar opportunities. Lastly, please follow us on Twitter at ASD Alliance and like our Facebook page to stay up to date on future CASDA information and initiatives. Thanks.